all of the outside people need to keep their opinions and thoughts to themselves. Unless I specifically ask you for your opinion on this personal subject, I don't think that you should give your opinion because it's not your place. Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title of today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little different, something I've never done before. So first and foremost, I just want to say everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Everybody is allowed to speak their voice, make their voice known and heard if that's what they want to do. As well as for me as well as for you guys. So yes, I'm putting this video on a public platform, which is my platform to speak and to say how I feel. So I'm very much so entitled to that, as well as you guys. But I just don't want any negativity. I don't want people to comment or speak badly about, what I'm saying, because it's my opinion, and if you don't like it, then oh well, because it's not your opinion. So yeah. So what I want to talk about today is kind of like a controversial topic in a way, and I say controversial because co-parenting is one of the most hardest things that us as humans still are figuring out, and some people have the shit to a T. It's something that I'm still figuring out. It's something that I still have to open my mind to, and just to allow the thoughts of somebody else and how they feel, because I have kids with them, so I have to think about them. So I never thought that I would film a video like this, so I have really bad anxiety. But it's something that's just been on my mind constantly, and like I said, I'm still figuring this out myself. I've only been a mother for 2.5 years, so I haven't been a mother for a very long time. But when you make a baby with somebody, that's saying, okay, you're going to be in my life for the rest of my life. We're going to be in each other's lives for the rest of our lives. We're going to do our best to take care of this kid together. It's a together thing. We're going to be together forever. It's always going to be us. It's always going to be our family. We're always going to be a unit. That's the way it's supposed to be, period. I think that it's so important to have a foundation to your relationship before you bring a kid into it. I think it's important to be best friends with that person. Unless you guys mutually agree, okay, I'm going to have a baby, I'm going to get you pregnant and you can have the baby, or unless there's some sort of mutual agreement to what you guys agree to, then, you guys are supposed to be in each other's lives forever. And having a baby is saying that I'm going to be in your life for forever, and at least the next 18 years of this child's life. We're going to do our best to raise this kid, to teach them morals or values, respect, to raise them with confidence and ambition and drive, and instill that hard work in them. So yeah, I think that foundation is important to have there before you have a kid. In my situation, I definitely 100% feel like that foundation was there. I feel like I had a kid with my best friend. In my situation, I have 2 kids. So I had 2 kids with somebody that was my best friend. At one point, if you still love it, if you love that person at one point, then that love should always be there, unless something drastic takes place or whatever. I don't know. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's life is different. I personally know that my situation is up and down, a roller coaster, a wave of emotions, and everything. So, um, I have two kids. One is two, a boy, and my girl is one. My kids are 13 months apart. So I have my kids back to back. Was not easy, was not planned. It was not planned to have them back to back. It was planned to have our first kid though. So we planned to have our first kid. Our second kid was unplanned, but she is most definitely loved. They're 13 months apart, so they're gonna grow up, they're gonna be best friends, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, we had kids, we went in, we were gonna be together forever. Shit happens. Like, people don't always end up together forever. Like, things happen, situations change, feelings change, life continues to move on, whether that person is ready for life, and the twists and turns that come with life. So I don't know. I feel like I'm all over the place with this because my emotions are everywhere with this subject. But co-parenting. I'm at the stage now where obviously if I'm co-parenting, my relationship didn't work out with the other parent. So my relationship didn't work out with the other parent. So now I'm trying to learn to raise two young kids, but also keep in mind that I have to keep in mind that person's feelings and how their thoughts and feelings on our kids, because they're our kids. It takes a mature adult and a mature parent to be respectful to the other parent, especially putting aside the reasons why you separated. And in our case, our kids are so tiny. It's so important. It's so important to put aside those feelings of the hate and the disrespect, and just not even wanting to talk to that parent, because that's how it is sometimes. Like, you don't want to talk to them, you don't want anything to do with that parent, but you have to. You know what? Suck it up, because you have to, unless you're a spiteful parent who just doesn't give a crap about your kids, or the other parent doesn't give a crap about their kids. That's the only way that the parent shouldn't be in their lives, is if they're putting their kid in danger or they just don't want to be around. So my kid's dad, he is a good dad. He's a great dad. He loves spending time with them. They love him so much. I cannot say how much my kids love their dad, because they love him like crazy. They love his side of the family, their cousins. They have two little boy cousins and one girl. Yeah. It's like we all had kids within like 4 years, I think. So it's like 3 to 4 years. Like, all of these cousins just popped out of nowhere. So it's kind of hard to like count them sometimes. But yeah, so it's hard when you have other, like the family of the co-parents are like involved, and they want to give their opinion. They feel how they feel. I think it's best, if you're trying to co-parent with somebody and establish that co-parenting relationship, and to solidify that relationship, that all of the outside people need to keep their opinions and thoughts to themselves. Unless I specifically ask you for your opinion on this personal like subject, I don't think that you should give your opinion, because it's not your place. Keep it to yourself. So I'm also still learning to, I guess, I don't know if I'm really learning to get along with their side of the family, but I think that we just all have to kind of establish and the comfortability of where we are now in our lives, because it's so different than what it used to be. You know, we're not all as close as we once were. Like, people separated, people moved on, things happened, people moved away. This has happened, that has happened, like arguments. I mean, and it's gonna happen. It's in a family, that's what happens. And ultimately, I do see them as being a bigger part of the picture, like a bigger part of the picture, as in they are my family in a sense because they're my kids' family. So you have to get along with everybody, and if you don't like that person, respect them. Respect is such a big thing with me. I feel like you have to respect everybody. You have to respect everybody. It's just common courtesy. It's just common courtesy to respect the people around you. Don't be rude. Don't give your opinion if it's not asked for. But I think when you're trying to establish that co-parenting relationship, it's like, okay. I'm drinking hot chocolate, guys. So good, because it's like snowing outside. So when you're trying to establish that co-parenting relationship, it's always good to keep in mind, okay, I have my life, that parent has their life, the child is in the middle. So it's like my world, dad's world, the little baby is in the middle, right there, both kids. So it's really important to say, okay, I have to do what's best. We have to do what's best for our kid. And if our thoughts and opinions aren't what's best, as far as communicating with the other parent or speaking to the other parent, if that's not what's best, then keep it to yourself. Don't say it. Don't let it be known. I think it's really hard to co-parent, and I know a lot of people probably have to deal with this, to co-parent with somebody who is still in love with you, or having to co-parent with somebody that you're still in love with. It's hard, and I'm still learning how to put my feelings and my thoughts aside because of the things that I've been through, because that has nothing to do with my kids. You know, I made the decision to leave the relationship. I made the decision to move on. I made the decision to move away. So now it's like, okay, how do we get past that? Those feelings not hatred. It's like a love-hate relationship that I have with my kid's father. So how do we get past the things that we feel about one another and completely leave that alone, which I feel like is hard to do. I feel like it's really hard to do, especially if you've been through something that really is cemented in your memory, something that happened in your guys' relationship. It's hard to put that aside for the sake of the kids, but it's like, dude, you have to. Like, you really do have to, especially if they are babies, because they look up to you. They're still learning, they're still growing. You don't want them to grow up and think that hitting and physical abuse is okay, emotional, mental abuse is okay. You don't want them to think that. That's not the world that we want our kids to be brought into, at least not mine. And I feel like I feel like sometimes I try to force the other parent to do things that I want, or to be a certain way that I want with the kids, just because I know what I didn't have and did have as a child growing up. I didn't have my biological father around. You know, I had my sister's dad around, and he took care of me. He's still my dad, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, why wasn't my dad around? I never want my kids to feel the pain that I felt. Well, my dad was around, but he left. He left when I was like 11 or 12, and I've probably talked to him one time since, I probably talked to him like once or twice since 2006. So it's been like 14 years, and I've talked to my dad like 2 times in those 14 years, because he is an alcoholic, because he has mental issues, because he just has a lot going on and he's unstable. And it's crazy that they say that the people who raise you are the people that you attract and the people who you end up with. And I feel like that I relate to that, and that's kind of what happened in my life. You know what I'm saying? But like that's a whole nother story. But I don't know. I'm like all over the place. But like I said, I just have so many thoughts and feelings about this subject. What's hard for me right now is trying to co-parent while in quarantine. I'm very good at, taking my kids to be with their father. If he can't meet me, which he does try and meet me in the middle, because I live almost an hour away. I live about 45 minutes away from where he lives. So he usually tries to meet me in the middle. If he can't meet me in the middle, he never drives to me. I always drive and take the kids to him on Friday. I pick them up on Sunday. So right now we're in quarantine. We've been in quarantine since I believe March 15th or March 16th. Yeah. So we've been in quarantine since like March 15th or 16th. The country, America, has been in quarantine for this long, pretty much, or at least Michigan. So my kids have really not seen their dad in about a month. It's April 15th or 16th today. So it's been about a month since my son's seen him about 2 weeks ago almost. It was about 2 weeks ago. It was my birthday weekend. He took Amari, and Aaliyah stayed with me, so he hasn't seen Aaliyah in about a month, but he FaceTimes them, he calls them, if he's going to the store, hey, do the kids need more pull-ups, do they need more diapers, are they eating anything new that I should have stocked up at my house for when they come over. Like, he does communicate in that sense with me, but right now we're kind of at a level where we're disagreeing and we're not seeing eye to eye during this quarantine. Because yes, we were still in quarantine 2 weeks ago. Yes, I let my son go to his house, which I had no problem with. But now we're in a situation that the next 2 weeks are vital. Really, like the next week and a half, because they said this about a week ago, that it was vital the next 2 weeks that everybody stay inside. This is the peak of the COVID-19 virus. This is when people are going to be dying the most. This is when people are going to be catching it the most. Stay inside. So if you're not close to me, you don't know that my son has 2 medical conditions. One is septal-optic dysplasia, where it's a group of conditions. It's kind of hard to explain, so if you don't know it and you want to know what it is, just look it up. It has to do with his kidney. It has to do with he has a small pituitary gland. It has to do with he's not making and producing certain hormones that he should. So therefore, since he's not producing certain hormones that he should, he's not producing the hormone vasopressin in his kidney, which regulates the amount of fluid that the kidney can regulate, I guess, in other words. So in that sense, he goes to the bathroom a lot. He drinks a lot of water to make up for the liquid that he's releasing from the fluids that he's releasing from his body. He's drinking a lot of water to put that back in his body because his kidneys can't hold water like that. So he's diagnosed with diabetes insipidus, which is what I was saying is the kidney isn't regulating the fluid like it should, and it's not producing vasopressin, which is a hormone that you need to, in other words, survive. So since it's being monitored, he's okay right now. He doesn't need any medication right now, but if his sugar levels and his blood levels are borderline, then he could need that medication and be on that pill for the rest of his life. His father knows these things. In my opinion, I do think that he could do more research on Amari's medical conditions. And that's something that I've discussed with him. I'm very vocal in things that I want in our co-parenting relationship. And a lot of times, if he doesn't agree with it, he'll be angry, but then he'll backtrack, and maybe a different day he'll say, okay, in that situation you were right, I should have done this, or in this situation you were right, I could have done this better. And that's another thing that goes on with us, is our communication isn't the best. So if I say something to him and he doesn't like it, he kind of blows up, but then he'll turn around and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did that. I see where you were coming from, but in the moment I didn't. So that's something that we're still working on, which it's hard. Like, people in marriages can't even communicate. Miscommunication leads to divorce. So we're still learning. We're new parents. We're young parents. I had my baby when I was 21 years old. I was supposed to be living it up, partying, but God had another plan for us. And that's completely fine, you know? But anyways, so my son has these kidney issues. He has health issues, in other words, and his immune system is a little lower than that of a 3-year-old his age. And also the fact that he's a kid, his immune system is a little lower. So now we're at a disagreement of, well, why can't the kids come over? And he doesn't see, well, he sees my point, but he feels that he's been safe. He feels that he would never put his kid's life in danger, and I 100% agree with that. I don't think he would ever put his kid's life in danger intentionally, but we've had certain situations in the past. We've had certain things that we have had to take time to move forward from. So it's hard sometimes for me to let him be the father that he wants to be. And like I said, that's why I'm always like, you know, I try to make him be a father that I want him to be, because I didn't have that. So, yeah. So in the situation now, he wants the kids to come over, but he hasn't been in quarantine like he should. We've been in quarantine for about 3 weeks. So the first week or so that people were in quarantine, we weren't in quarantine here. We were still living our life. We were still, well, actually, people were in quarantine before March 15th. People were in quarantine at the starting of like March 3rd, March 6th. People started to be in quarantine. We started quarantine like maybe like March 16th, 17th. So we've been in quarantine for a month now. I've been not working for a month now. I've been at home with the kids for a month now. Excuse me. And if you have kids, especially if you have young kids, you know how hard it is to even have a breather, have a second. It's crazy that I'm filming this video right now and my kids aren't banging at this door, but the TV boss baby is keeping them occupied right now. So we're at the situation where he wants to see the kids right now, but he hasn't been in quarantine like we have. He's been out, he's been at people's house, he's been around a specific person who is working in a hospital and, you know, risking their life to save other people. And he's like, well, if I'm around this person, they're risking their life, they're fine, I'm fine. So your reasoning for the kids coming over is that you're around someone who risks their life every day and is around people with COVID-19 and they're fine, so you're fine. That's, and in my eyes, that's even more reason for me to not let the kids come over. And I feel like I'm putting them first in a sense, but he's feel like I'm being selfish to him. So it's hard for me. It's not hard for me to make that decision. It's not hard for me at all. It was at first because I did feel like I was being selfish, but I'm like, dude, my son has a lower immune system than lower, because not only is he a child, but he's a child with health issues. So his immune system is really low. So because of that, I know that I need to make the decision to not go out as much, to not go to the stores, to not, you know, we've been going on walks, we've been getting fresh air, we've been going on car rides, but not to go to places where there's everybody else, not to go to places where there are people. My mother flew in from Vegas. My mom didn't even see my kids, and she flew in from Vegas and was here for a week. Her and my sister did not see my kids. You know why? Because we were supposed to be in quarantine and my mom decided to fly. So if I have to make that decision for my mother, who flew in from 4 hours away, of flying from 4 hours away from the West Coast, to not see my kids, that's a hard decision. So you have to understand where I'm coming from. If I don't want you to be around the kids because you've been around everybody else. If you were in quarantine like you were 2 to 3 weeks ago when Amari came over, okay, that's different. But we're at the peak of this. You've been around a health worker, and I don't agree with it. So right now we're in disagreement. So it's really hard to co-parent during this time. We're not seeing eye to eye, so therefore we're kind of argumentative toward each other, and that's something that we're really trying to work on. But it's hard when somebody isn't at the same level as you are. Somebody has addiction, so it's hard to parent with that person. But you know, he still FaceTimes the kids. You know, I still, even after all of this is over, I would be more than willing to say, hey, you know, take the kids for a while if that's what you want, or I'll bring the kids over, or we could go do this, or it's gonna be summertime, let's go do this. I'm so all for going and doing group activities, taking the kids to airtime, going to the water park, go do this. Like, I've always been for that. We've been separated. What's crazy is we've been separated for like a year and a half almost. So, and we're still learning how to do all this, but I'm still so willing to go and do all of these things with him, have Christmas with him, have Christmas with his family. You know, even though that's not really my family, but they're my kids' family. I want to make those memories. My kids are young. I want them to see, okay, my parents, they can get along. I may not, and I tell him this all the time, and he has such a hard time believing this, because he feels so alone. So he has a hard time believing that I still am there for him. I still love him, but I am not in love with him. So it's different, and it's hard for him to, I think, differentiate the feelings of the feelings that he had for me and the feelings that he has now for me, and where we're at in life versus where we were in life. So I think when, you know, people come to terms with what it is now and it's not what it was anymore, that helps. It helps to not be controlling. It helps to always to put the kids first. So yeah, I know people are I know a lot of people are going through similar situations that I'm going through right now. So that's why I decided to just sit down and, you know, do this video. Because I'm sure that there's people that can relate to this, that are going through the same issues. So yeah. Yo, this ring light is hurting my eyes. It's so bright. I'm like blinded now because I've been looking at it. But yeah, I don't know. Always think about the other person's thoughts and how they feel. That's who I am. I'm a very emotional person. So I'm in tune with my emotions as well as other people's. So I always try to think about the other co-parenters' thoughts and how they feel. Try to always keep your relationship with your kids first and foremost. If your kids are really young and they can't understand anything or don't understand, or even for as long as you can, just try to do things as a family. I think that that's so important, to have that. Do things as a family. Respect, number one thing. Number one. I pray every single day for my kid's father. I do. I pray that he finds whatever truly makes him happy in life. And I told him this last night. I told him, I said, I pray for you every single time I pray. I pray that God continues to watch over you. I pray that God blesses you and just guides you, and you find whatever it is to make you happy in life, whatever it is that you need, and just to be safe. I always tell him to be safe, because that's one of my biggest fears when it comes to my kids, is that if something happens to them, that's my biggest fear. But what if something happens to their father and we're not together and I can't control the things that he does? Not that I ever could, because we know him. if you know him. But yeah, just respect, try to co-parent, keep their thoughts in your head all the time, keep your child front and center, or children, and always put them first. So I hope that you guys could relate to this video. Yes, guys, I did my makeup just for this video and to feel pretty, because what else do we have to do in life? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like if you did, please comment, and make sure that you guys subscribe, and also turn on those post notifications so you get a notification for every time that I post a video. Thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe and stay in quarantine. Bye guys.